the Senate election that happened in the runoff for Georgia. And this is big. I didn't cover it last week leading up into the election. I probably should have talked about it a little bit. But when we look towards the future of how to run in these elections, I think Raphael Warnock has scratched a certain surface of rhetoric that works in more purple areas, as well as talking to voters and mobilizing them, frankly, over and over and over again, because this is the fourth election in 2 years that Raphael Warnock, excluding primaries, by the way, has been a part of. I don't think that he had any primary this year, but there's always the chance. So, but the honest truth is, it was scary to see the numbers coming in last night and seeing that they were so close. And again, like, I know that by the end of the night, Raphael Warnock ends up, and I'll show you guys, he ends up winning by almost 3 full percentage points. So it's not nearly as scary as it seemed throughout the night leading up into it. But with, 81% of the votes in, it was like 1,000 vote lead for Walker, which is not exactly where you want to see yourself with 81%. But these counties that have, Atlanta in it, Savannah in it, those were the ones that were coming in late, skewed towards Democratic voters, skewed towards minority voters, which were skewed towards Warnock, which that's how you end up with a 3 percentage point win. So this is important. This is a big pickup, because in the overall balance of power within the Senate, we have 51 Democrats moving forward and 49 Republicans, which is a 1-seat pickup for the Democrats, which is pretty rare in midterm elections to see a pickup in the Senate for an incumbent president's party. We see this, and it's important to note too. You saw it in not local but more local area where Pennsylvania, we flipped the state house for the first time in like a decade plus, and these are rare things to find when you have a Democratic president or a Republican president for that matter, and their party actually picking up seats. For those who don't know, maybe you don't remember the Tea Party. I was a bit young too during the Tea Party, just admittedly, but coming into my own, politically speaking, retrospectively, we looked back a lot. I looked back a lot at the Tea Party and how Trump came to power in that Republican Party. And looking at that, you have to notice that not only was the most radical and fringe people in the party being elevated, but the overall party was being funded and elevated from the grassroots up, from local organizing up. You can see it in the way I talk about organizing, and the way that I emphasize that getting involved in your town, in your county, in your state. That is how elections are won and built upon the backs of the people that are at the township level, builds up to the state level, builds up to the federal level. That's how you develop your bench of candidates. That's how you get people that, yes, we had somebody that is a township supervisor. Now they're ready to run for state senator. Now that person might run for, auditor general, and which, there's tons and tons of ways that people progress politically speaking. But that is how you develop the party. Now, I bring up the Tea Party because in 2010, and 2012 for that matter, but not so much 2012, but under Barack Obama's presidency, there was over 1,000 state, local, and federal seats lost under Obama's presidency. And that is not necessarily, I mean, there are reasons to that beyond, there was a consolidation of power in the presidential election in 2008. That is a bit of speculative, because obviously I wasn't, in the inside at that point. That's a bit of a retrospective speculation on my end. But with that, control becomes a choking out on the local level. But foundations like Americans for Prosperity, foundations like Heritage Fund, all that stuff, Heritage Foundation, these thought, whatever you want to call them, leaders in the Republican Party that have billions of dollars, and they're leaders for that reason, fund local campaigns. They fund what you see like here in Central Bucks. You see millionaires funding people to run for school board to make sure that, oh, we can't have pride flags, or because we can't have whatever it is, right? Anything that's simple. We're having book bans in the Central Bucks School District because of these people funding this nonsense. Whether we like it or not, they are the people that have been at it for a long time, and they've been building this capacity. And the capacity is just a party apparatus that puts people into power by spending a lot of money on elections. Now, it's important when talking about this on the Senate level. Warnock in the runoff election outspent Walker by like twofold, which is, again, this is concerning. This should be concerning to anybody that is a Democrat or a progressive or anybody that identifies of, sane, because Walker was one of the worst candidates. And this is not I honestly am not knocking Raphael Warnock here, as I normally might in another election where there's a, whether it's Congress or Senate. I think Raphael Warnock kind of did scratch that itch for people. He did bring a level of just, I'm a reverend. Like, yeah, I've been your senator for 2 years, and I'm just a regular guy just like you. And that's good. And he talked about certain things in the run up to this election, corporate greed causing inflation, which is just a fact. Like, that's not even an opinion. That's just a fact. He's just bringing it to the forefront. People let that kind of stuff slide because it's sometimes hard to identify that corporate profits are hitting all-time highs while blaming inflation and doing all this stuff to cut costs down the line. So him talking about that stuff, I actually really look up to that. And the actual mobilization, I know people that went from Pennsylvania and New Jersey and all these places and went and knocked doors and campaigned for Warnock and, became part of his staff in the last, 2 weeks or so. That's how you win an election. You mobilize voters and you intensify the message, get your rhetoric out there first. But it has to be said that Walker is somebody that is super hypocritical. Walker is somebody that shouldn't even be in the consideration of the realm of possibilities for a Senate candidate. He has no qualifications to make him such. But the fact is, by losing by 3%, which, yeah, in the grand scheme of things is a pretty substantial margin, it's not Shapiro crushing Mastriano. It's not even Fetterman beating Oz levels. So I think we're in luck in the fact that Georgia, I think, is turning more blue over time, and we don't have to worry about a Senate election for 4 years until John Ossoff is up there again. We lost Stacey Abrams' election back in the regular election, which should be concerning. But Georgia is moving in the right direction. And having Georgia in the Democratic column moving into a presidential election is key. So it should be noted, though, that Walker's rhetoric is radical. And the fact that he still only loses, he almost gets 50% is absolutely insane to me.